Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with me, AirsickHydra. Now I find this fairly poetic that after embarking on a quest to cover all things Games Workshop related in terms of gaming, that I would be embarking on a review of a game known as Warhammer Quest 2. That's right, this is the second instalment of the mobile game by Pachang Games. Now you may notice that this is a new developer name. What we're going to be doing is going through a little bit of gameplay within this, and we will be starting in a few seconds, and then we're going to have a good talk about the developers, the previous monetization, and all of the important stuff that you're going to want to know in order to make a purchasing decision about the product. Obviously there's a lot of raised eyebrows and a lot of scrutiny when it comes to mobile ports into Steam. I'm going to try and help you guys out as much as I can here, but I think most important of all is really just to start into the game and see what we can see. So let's fire up. If you haven't seen this before, this is obviously a mobile port, so it's going to be pretty simple to control. It's going to be based on touchscreen elements. The story as it stands, and obviously there may be a few spoilers here, but this is obviously all text-based as well. The story is basically that this is set within the end times, and as it stands, we have a rather unlikely coupling of an Empire soldier and a Dark Elf witch forming up together to form a team and embarking on the quest to do something to start off with. Obviously other classes are available, there's quite a few in total. We're going to come to those in a moment, and there we have it. Rather to look at that shiny yellow and black breastplate. It's enough to make you want to praise Sigmar. Now unfortunately it does seem that this is somewhat unskippable. So, I hope you guys are enjoying the slow screel of text, but I guess it does force us to enjoy some of the artwork. A little comment I think is worth being thrown here towards the artistic direction of the background and the, let's say, the intermission artwork. And for the most part, I think it is of a pretty decent standard. I'm not sure if this is already property of Games Workshop, but I'm pretty happy thus far. Anyway, we're going to enter the ruins beneath the city of Altdorf and get started. Now, one thing I'm very happy to see within this game is we actually have a camera adjustment, and although I've watched a couple of hours of other reviews of the mobile version, I've never seen anyone actually play around with this. Now, it's a very simple system. Each character has, I'm going to call them pips, but they're basically action points. So we have a set number on each character. I don't know if it goes up as you progress along. You click on the character and then you click where you want to move, or you can click on an enemy to attack and you can select which weapon you want to attack with. Equipment can be changed in between battles, and you can collect loot and booty as you go along. WASD can be used to move the camera around, and doors are opened by moving to them. Now, obviously it's a turn-based game and a tile-based game, because that's right, Games Workshop seems to be on a little bit of a roll into turning its stuff into these glorious projects, some of which have been better than others. Now, we have the option here of going 1, 2, 3, and then we can make one single attack here. So that's what we're going to do, or we could just attack a rat. So let's go there, and we can do one attack. Now we have a choice of a sword that makes 2 attacks with 6 to 8 damage, or 1 attack with 1 to 15. Now if we hover over, we can also see how many hit points the giant rat has down in the right hand side. So there's a little bit of calculation, a little bit of stuff in your head that's perhaps worth calculating as you go, and a little bit of thinking involved in the game, which is something generally I do quite like, actually. I do quite like to see. Now we can select our other character. We can see that it's just within the firing range here. We have a ranged weapon. I don't know if it tells you an actual hit percentage. It doesn't seem to. Let's make an attack. 2 attacks made, and not quite enough to kill the blighter. So let's have another go. Nice. Fairly simple. There is a mixture of opponents as you go through the game, and here I will confess that I've not made it that far. Enemy turn, obviously they get to try and attack too. Not enough pips to try and attack me back. Now one thing I would find a little bit unimmersive, I might, it's perhaps not the best words to be using here, is the very apparent and oblivious, just very apparent and in your face, you have ended the turn at the end of each turn. I wouldn't have minded just a little bit down in the bottom right saying autosave, but granted it is a mobile port, and perhaps they wanted to make it painfully obvious that you are restarting a turn. And we get a free attack as well because we got a kill. Pretty nifty feature. I'm going to move down here. Now, thus far, obviously looking pretty simple. This is the tutorial portion of the game. Nice. Nice. Now, not enough pips to attack. Let's continue on. Each of these levels will be a dungeon format, and there are different areas you can go to with different enemy types. I believe there are orcs and goblins, beastmen. I'm not exactly sure on the other. I think I heard, or I may have read, that there might be some undead mixed in as well. That being said, I'm not going to be able to give you a comprehensive review as to what's entirely in this game, or everything from A to Z, because simply I'm not going to be able to play it through that quickly. We're not going to get to attack. We're out of pips to attack. Never mind. I'm going to refer to them as pips simply because that was what was done within Wartime. And I like the term pip. I think it works pretty well. Now, the next room, we've got a little bit of a surprise to look forward to, and it's our first go at a slightly more meaty engagement. And what I would comment on as well, actually what I'd rather have done is walked up and not activated the door there and opened it the next turn. That would have been preferable. Instead, we're going to go and tank this. No, I guess you're an Ungor. I guess. Looks more cow than goat. So anyway, we don't have enough to do any healing, so we're going to end turn there. We don't need to do any healing, rather. We don't have any enough to do a ranged attack. Right, so this looks like it could be a little bit painful. I like the idea of puzzle. I'm going to call it a puzzle game of sorts. What I mean by that is you have to think about what move you're doing, or at least you probably should, if you want a decent chance of success, and perhaps plan your strategies a little bit around this. Now, if we bring Milady down here, let's see if she can actually shoot through, and there we go. We can zoom out as well to get a better line of sight. Not too bad, or a better vantage point over the area. Oh, and she had a free attack as well. That's a pretty nice feature. There are, as I can tell, quite a few different character choices within the game. You have things like dwarfs, you have different skins for the characters as well. We'll go through some of those in a moment. And by skins, let's actually change that. It's not a skin, it's more like a recolour of an actual character. So you can customise some of their appearances. So if you end up with, say, 2 Empire soldiers, you can modify them slightly. He doesn't have enough to attack. Perfect. This reminds me a little bit of Space Hulk Tactics in a sense. I mean, it works in the same way. It's tile-based, it's turn-based, you have an action economy, and you have to make some actual plans as to what you want to do, how you want to do it. I like this. I like the idea of having a customised force, having some items, how long you're going to play the game for, how much time you're going to get out of it. I don't really want to comment on that right now because simply I haven't played the game through as far as I would like to. What I will be doing is doing a few Let's Play videos of this, just simply to give you guys an opportunity to see more gameplay. Now, that's nearly one mission done. I think we can move forward just a little bit more and stay outside of the melee range of this little dirty rat. There we go. I believe it takes them 2 to attack, where it only takes me... Oh, it takes me 2 as well. There we go. So it's 1 to move and 2 to attack. And it looks like we have someone to rescue here, who I believe will probably be an additional party member. So these are the exit tiles for the area. We have to end turn here. It'd be quite nice if it just gave you unlimited action economy when it's right at the end. A minor gripe, but really doesn't matter all that much. Huzzah! Victory! Victory! And I would give a small shout out to the music within here, because I actually think it's quite adequate. Fairly happy with it. We have some combat stats at the end. We have amount of XP to level up our heroes, and we have probably some rewards coming in too. We have healing possible. Okay, so it looks like we may have some healing units in the end. Right, so here's what we got from this. We got a extra party member. We have a Wood Elf Glade Guard. Looking forward to seeing how the bow works. We have a bag of gold, only 50, but I guess that will have to do. And we get a shield that we can equip on our Empire Captain. As well as this, a little bit of text comes between each of the areas, and there is a world map, which we're just coming to now. So the enemy of my enemy, 1 out of 10 is complete. I believe that is the first chapter. I could be wrong, but I believe that is the case. Now, mission directives will take you from place to place, sort of working your way through the campaign. It seems like you can have multiple campaigns on the go at any given time, because there's quite a few different save slots you can use, and you can choose where to travel. Now, what we can do as well is bring up the party screen up here in the top, and let's have a look at some different colour choices. So some minor changes here. Now I will confess I'm not familiar with which one is which. Call me a noob if you have to. I get rather confused. Right, can we change any of these items here? Oh, we can equip a dagger, we can equip a bow. And we actually have a few different items to equip, or we could equip a shield here. So if we equip this shield, does that work there, or do I need the shield here? Let's try fiddling around a little bit. So different combat stats will be on each. You have a damage, you have how many attacks, you have obviously the range as well, critical hit chance, which I believe does double damage, and the action economy in order to actually shoot. So we have this equipped. Oh no, we don't have that equipped. It says we have a shield. Maybe you just simply select this within the game. I'm guessing that's the case. Right, okay, that's cool. And let's go, I presume the back button is the appropriate one to be selecting here. That's glorious. Let's go to our next character, see what we can do here. Okay, not quite so fond of the textures here. I like this chap. I think it looks almost like an animated miniature that one might have painted. Little bit... it's not terrible, but it's not quite up to Games Workshop standards in terms of model. And... yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I think it's... let's just... let's hope the others are up to this standard. That's my favourite anyway. Right, now, in terms of colour schemes, let's see what we can do. Okay, well, we can change our hair colour, so that is pretty important in life. Now, let's go for pink, of course. And can we equip other items on this person as well, of course? Lovely, nice to see. And lastly, just see what's going on here. Bow, quite expensive to use. Okay, let's get out of this area and see what else we can do up here. We have another option. Okay, that takes us to the menu. A good opportunity to go through this stuff. So, game options, and here, this is a mobile port, so not expecting a huge amount to have game. Music, language, fine. Information, speed, dexterity, strength. So this tells you a little bit about the actual game mechanics and how they work. Presumably you level these up when you actually input. You have input, so basic controls, and we have social. If you wish to contact the developers to, I don't know, tell them whatever you want to tell them. And on that note, actually, the developers live within a mile, work within a mile of where I live, which is very spooky. We're going to come back to that in just a moment, but very, very spooky. Actually, not too far from Creative Assembly as well, who are also very close to where I live. Very, very spooky. Quite a lot of game studios around Guildford. Now, that's the game controls. We do also have some graphical options as well. You can change resolution window mode, you can go to UI scale, AA option, and post effects and map, etc. I don't think you're going to be having too many issues in terms of optimization on this. It seems to be running pretty okay for me at the moment. So we're supposed to be going to Carroburg, and we will try and load on that here, and travel. Now, there are shops as well within the area, and there are various things that you can do within the shops. You can buy things, you can sell things, and you can interact with various NPCs in order to even get additional party members. So we can enter here, or if we go back, we can just wander back to Altdorf, I believe, and do a little bit of shopping. Let's have a little investigate here. I don't mind the little marker, that's pretty nifty. Works nicely on the map. So what's within Altdorf, which... there we go. Shops, taverns, and training. So you can train in various things to level up, and obviously one can go to shops. So I presume you can click on each individually. So we can enter the Drunken Boar. Let's see what we've got going on in here. One would presume we can buy additional people. Good lord, that is wonderful and glorious. So we can go for a greatsword. We can go for, oh my god, we can go for an ogre. Oh dear, that's amazing. Can you rename them? Because I'd really like to get one and call it Shrek. That's amazing. Anyway, we've got 1,100 gold currently sitting around, or is that the price? Oh, that's the price to buy him. We have 50 gold, so it's going to take a while. We have a Witch Hunter too. That's a nice looking model. I like that. That reminds me quite a lot of my my actual avatar. And what have we got over here? And of course, it makes complete sense that we have a Blood Knight. It is the end times, so you pretty much anything goes as far as what the game's trying to say anyway. Quite expensive. I don't know if this randomly changes with time. I'm not quite sure. He's already level 5. That's nice to see. Okay, and can I sell you a party member? Okay, damn. Could nearly sell you an elf. Right, let's see what else is within here. We have the Warriors Guild. Okay, no one levels ready up. No one ready to level up, rather. And the merchant quarter. Let's finally see what we can do here. So we can buy additional armor, which has various stat reductions. So it seems that there's a modest amount of customization that one can do. Quite a few different items in total. You have different range weapons. There seems to be a pretty ample amount of choice to do here, as well as various skills as well, which is pretty cool to see and nice to have within the game. What we're going to do now, guys, is I'm going to play through the second mission and have a little talk with you about what I can dig out of the developers and what I think you're going to be able to find out about the game itself. So one of the joys about this game is it's already been out for quite a long time on mobile. So when it comes to reviewing the product, well, the product is pretty much identical to what it is on mobile. It's made by Pachang Games, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. And some of you might think, well, hey, that sounds like it might be a little bit of a new studio. Well, 50% of the staff, that is one of the two people, were on the development team and were the lead director, I guess, for the previous two projects of Rodeo Games, which is obviously the first of this particular title, Warhammer Quest, as well as the Space Hulk, Deathwatch game. Now, the Deathwatch game will be brought into conversation quite a bit, I believe, and we can choose which heroes we take. Very nice, because it was a game that came out and didn't receive a lot of post-launch content, and I don't know how many people actually missed the memo on this, but this was actually reported on at the time, that the game was semi-successful in terms of review, at least. Critics gave it a fairly warm reception, and I'll post a link here to Total Biscuit's review of it, which I think is pretty comprehensive and a good opportunity for you to sort of find out what's actually in the game. Nice. Okay. I like the fact that you aren't committed to spending all of your points at once here. You can actually mix and match between. That seems like a nice thing to be able to do. Let's move you out the way, move you to here, move you to there. There we go. Now, what people may have missed the memo on is the fact that the studio Rodeo Games actually closed down because the amount of sales generated by Deathwatch was insufficient. They may not have closed, but I am aware that a large number of the staff had to leave. It's written in several articles. I'll provide a link down in the doobly-doo, but it is commented on that basically it's the fate of many indie studios. You make a game, it gets fairly good reviews, but it doesn't get enough reviews to actually continue the studio. So I don't know whether they just simply rebranded, or they managed, or they dissolved and maybe then they restarted. I'm not entirely sure. But 50% of the staff, that is one of the two individuals, are from the previous games. And be it for good or bad reasons, if you played the previous ones, you could probably expect a little bit more of the same. And oddly enough, they're in the exact same studio, so it's fairly safe to say that it's one of those previous options that we'd discussed. Now, in terms of reviews of this game on mobile, as I said, I think we can reference those quite a bit because, well, it's all there for us to see. The game itself has roughly a 4.1 to 4.2 out of 5. Obviously, the App Store and iOS, they use different metrics to review games, and for the most part, that I can see, the game's reviews are quite positive in regard to gameplay. The negative reviews typically, and feel free to have a look yourself, I'm not going to link it down in the doobly-doo because Google does exist, guys. What I can tell is that the majority of negative reviews are regarding two things. Obviously, you have the occasional 0-star or 1-star due to technical faults. That happens quite a lot in mobile games. That's not the only thing, obviously. Oh, hi! Nice random ambush. I haven't seen that before. So you ambushed me and I get to attack you and miss you. Curious. I'll take it though. I'll take it. Some of the other negative reviews are regarding the monetization policy of the mobile game. Now here's what I would say. Those do not necessarily apply to this. The two things are monetized very, very differently. Within the mobile game, and here's... Oh, I didn't actually want to do that. Within the mobile game, you paid about £5 for the base game, and after which you would pay for additional units and additional bits and bobs and all sorts of other things, and you could spend, after that initial £5, quite a lot of money in order to get yourself to a point where you've got all the stuff that you want. I believe it would be in the region of about $60. For a mobile game, I'll let you make your own judgment as to whether you feel that that's a lot or a small amount. I think that's simply more down to an individual's personal experiences with mobile games. But the reality is that the PC game was monetized differently. And the reason I want to bring some attention to this is because I've had 3 to 5 individuals, I think actually it's 5 now, tell me that the PC version is way more expensive than the mobile. And at first glance, the PC version is running, I think, at about £11 British, which, yes, does cost over double what the mobile does. However, the DLC, additional content and all of that stuff, things get a little bit different there. Because you pay an additional £10 for the PC version, and you get everything. So all of that mobile stuff, you basically get all of that DLC, everything is included. I believe it's called the deluxe version, or words to sort of that effect. Now, I'm not telling you this is good or bad value. That is for you to make your own mind up. You know, you're a grown adult, you can see what you're getting. It's roughly $5 for additional heroes within the mobile game, which is obviously why some people were a little bit salty about this. That's quite a bit of money. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about the £21 mark for a mobile game port. I mean, it's not expensive, but there are other games of similar value that perhaps are larger. However, I do also think it's important to simply acknowledge the fact that the game does have fairly favourable reviews from those that have played it and don't take specific issue with monetisation, etc. So, all in all, guys, I'm going to simply let you make your own mind up on this one. In terms of gameplay thus far, obviously we're still in the tutorial phase of this, but it's fairly easy to understand and easy to comprehend, which I like. It looks like the complexity is obviously going to get more and more challenge as we go. I think this is simply one that you're going to have to make your own mind up as to whether you like the looks of. I can see myself playing a couple of live streams with this. I'd certainly be looking forward to it getting more challenging and interesting, because it does certainly, this style of combat, it does interest me, especially when it gets to a point where it's difficult and challenging. And once you're at the point where you've customised your own warband, I think that's actually pretty nifty. And I'd even go so far as saying, for many players of Space Hulk Tactics that wanted a little bit more customization within the single player experience, I actually feel like this game's actually giving that to you as a player, because you have quite a lot of different items to equip, abilities you can use, and oh hi, so we've got a huge cavern, the sacrificial altar at one end, right above the river. Looks like you found who's been poisoning the water. Someone's been poisoning the water. Oh wow. Okay, so we have a little bit more variety of enemies now. That's nice to see. Let's see how much damage we can do. Beastman Gore. Okay, so we have different damage types, and oh, it does seem that there may be weaknesses. Correct weapon for the fight. Resistance bars are located on the warrior and the enemy displays. So if we have a little hover over there, we can see they're fairly resistant to swords, but not very resistant to other bits and bobs. You look quite tanky. I'm intimidated. And I didn't need to move there. But you get 1 movement and 2 attacks. Ouch, no you don't. You don't get that at all. I am bad. So one thing I'm looking forward to, as I say, is seeing how the difficulty of the game sort of escalates. Already it actually seems like it's getting to a fairly tough point. We do have a shield equipped though, shout out to the shield. And it seems that we're particularly tanky and good at mitigating stuff, damn. Now I'm guessing if we kill a spider, we get a free attack? No, that's not the case. Don't be silly, Hydra. Nice. I would say, sort of closing thoughts of this game, I'm excited to do a playthrough of it, to see how far I can get and to see how punishing and challenging it gets, to see how I cope with sort of injured warriors and customization in terms of how I feel I can execute my own plan. I actually think I'm going to enjoy this a little bit more than Space Hulk Tactics, despite the fact that this has perhaps a little bit less aesthetic refinement. As I was saying, I think this game definitely has a place in terms of appealing to those that like warband management, perhaps a little bit like Mordheim or something of that nature. But again, I'm not going to say that the game is better than Mordheim. It's certainly very different as being more of a tile-based game, but it's something to consider. Guys, I hope this video has been useful for you in terms of making your own mind up regarding the game itself. We've played through some low-level missions today, so if you want to stay tuned and hang around for one of the live streams on the weekend, I will be uploading them afterwards, where you can hopefully see some higher-level content. I'll likely have a witch hunter by then, obviously. One is necessary. Guys, have yourself a great day, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.